All right. Yeah. Welcome in a very special episode, as you can see, of the Five to Go podcast. I think our guest here, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 2023 Daytona 500 winner and 2012 and 13, then Nationwide Series champion, now Riley Series champion, is joining us. I think he's impressed at how we just jump right on the air, okay? But he's already been chopping it up by our esteemed crowd that's here every single week, diving into the racing issues as we do deep on about 5 different racing topics. I'm Doug Fireball Turnbull from the traffic team here in Atlanta at 11 Alive News with Rachel Cox Rosen, and also Atlanta Journal-Constitution Gridlock guy and part of the announcing team with Performance Racing Network this weekend at Circuit of the Americas. But before we go crazy turning left and right, we're going to dissect Echo Park Speedway with a gentleman just like our guest Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who's been to both races this season. He is our roving racing journo, University of North Georgia alum. Hashtag hire Devin Kupka. If Hayek Motorsports needs a multimedia journalist to help them out, hire Devin Kupka. How you doing, brother?
I am doing well, enjoying really my first day off, and it feels like forever because we had Daytona, Echo Park Speedway, the travel days, and just a work in between. It's just been a crazy stretch here in February, and just enjoying the time off that I have today. So I'm doing well, given the fact that it feels like I haven't had a day off in 2 weeks.
You're looking great, brother. Looking great, man. The treatment's going well. And then, of course, he's flanked by a Mustang, grinding those gears of the Dawsonville Garage, 2018 Georgia Racing Hall of Fame inductee, 1988 champion mechanic, Dan Elliott. Sir, how's it going?
Going good. Hope everybody is well. And I'm ready to dive in and talk to Ricky here. This is an honor to have him on for sure.
It really is, too. And the way this came together, big props to Ricky's manager, Leanne Egoff, who worked for years with Corey LaJoy, and I think is a part of the reason Corey's so adept on the media side here. But I actually started off on the way driving home from my traffic job here, listening to the beginning of Ricky's Kenny conversation. So, Ricky, it sounds like Leanne's got you hustling. I was in midst of talking to her about your deal and her going, hey, he can come on your podcast. I was like, well, hey, there's an appearance they need Sunday morning at the Melanated Campout, the African-American campers at Echo Park Speedway. So she's had you hustling, man.
Atlanta was very busy. We flew in early and hit the ground running, and we didn't stop till, unfortunately, not the end of the race. I stopped a little bit before the end of the race, unfortunately, on Sunday. But no, man, we had a great time in Georgia, and second race of the year, and I'm still excited, still ready to go. Ask me in 20 races how I feel might be different, but right now, the spirits are still high.
Yeah, it's great to see that, and a lot of momentum, of course, for that 47 team. Starting with 2 drafting tracks, y'all are expected to run up front. Is that? I want to ask though, because both of the wrecks, one of them you still finished second to the 500, but the other obviously super early in the Echo Park Speedway race. And I didn't even see the extent of the damage when I didn't see the crash happened right in front of me. When I didn't see the 47 come back around again and again, I said, oh man. And then I couldn't see, but obviously heard you were in the garage on our radio broadcast. Both of those wrecks were with someone you said is a buddy of yours, Riley Herbst, okay? And into the 500, he was just going for it, and you were right there. But this one, I think I saw on the radio active, you're like, thanks, Riley. Have you gotten a chance to talk with your buddy yet? Does that make the friend conversation awkward?
I haven't talked to Riley yet. I'll see him this weekend. I've been busy this week, but he did have a birthday this week, ironically. But yeah, just him going for it at the 500. I told him, I mean, that was the right move to make, and if it works out, he has a shot to win a Daytona 500. It didn't work out, and crashed a few cars. That did allow me to get to second technically, but with a tore up race car. So kind of part of it. Atlanta, we had a lot of things go wrong at Atlanta. It wasn't just that scenario that took us out. We had a lot of issues at Hayek on our Chef Boyardee Chevrolet. We had a fuel pump issue kind of plague us there towards the end of stage 1. Then we couldn't get fuel in the car. We were having some issues the way we, kind of had our fuel cell and stuff put together. So that was going to be a long day on pit road trying to get fuel in the car. And then our A-post flap came up, around lap 21, 22, when we were in the top 5. And all of a sudden my handling kind of went went awful, and I didn't know what it was. I didn't know till the race was over that that had happened. So if anything could go wrong, it went wrong at Echo Park on Sunday. Hopefully we got everything out of the way. I think some of those, fuel issues, nice that we figured it out, because, going forward for this year, we can fix those issues.
But at least you know what you could fix there. You weren't just flat out slow or something, right? You had
That's right.
mechanical
Yeah, our
things to
car was
look at.
plenty good. Our car was plenty good. Like you said, 2 drafting tracks to start the season. Had us excited knowing that we can run well at those. But at the same time, you can easily get caught up in a wreck in those, right? And it could go either way. So yeah, bummed that we weren't able to get, as many points out of the day, with the stages, and then obviously a good finish at the end. Having to watch that one on the couch, was kind of a bummer. Mainly, the point situation is one thing, but it was a blast to drive out there, all weekend long in the trucks and the cup car. The racing is getting really intense and really fun. So that was another bummer thing, watching it instead of competing.
I bet. I bet. And I know the guys are chomping at the bit to ask you some. I wanted to ask just a real technical thing. And I know most of the answer, but I want for our listeners, the A post flap is something new on these cars. So yours
Yep.
got stuck up, which I would think, well, good, wouldn't that come down, buffeting in the wind? So what happened, and what exactly is that flap, and why is it new, and why is it there?
Yeah, the A-post flap is basically right in front of us on the A-pillar, on both sides of our car. And it came up because Ryan Priest decided to flip too many times, I think, at Daytona.
Yeah.
And then maybe Josh Berry. So that came up. Just, if our car gets sideways, it'll open up and hopefully keep the car on the ground. We've seen it work since NASCAR's implemented it. But we run them everywhere now, and I don't really know what it does to the actual downforce and side force of our race car, but it didn't feel good. I can tell you that. And for some reason, I guess NASCAR said they did see, the way the wind was. I mean, the wind itself, without us racing, was gnarly there.
Tell me about it.
Daytona 500 was windy. Atlanta was windy. Hopefully COTA is not as windy this weekend. My poor spotter, man, he's having to strap himself down on the roofs to not fly away. So I don't know if that played a factor in, the A-post flat buffering, and then ended up ours got stuck up. We can't really deep dive into it because our car had so much damage after that wreck. Our body was kind of kinked right there. So kind of a bummer that we don't get to really, study that as much, but at least we got all the fueling issues kind of figured out.
No, that's great, especially for an independent team right there where you don't have you know, like a Bible, so to speak, or a big group of people to go, okay, bring the next fueler up. Usually, I guess it's probably people getting plugged from your pit crew, right? If they're,
Yeah.
if they're getting called
Yeah,
up.
it wasn't a personnel issue on the pit crew side. It was a car issue. So again, like I said, we got issues resolved, and I'm glad if something went wrong, it went wrong at Atlanta, so that we can take our bad finish, learn a ton from it, and move on. So I would hate to have those issues, down the road when you're running well. So all in all, positive things were learned at this weekend, just not a positive result.
And you started it off right, biking and fishing with race fans and awarding the first camper and all of
I
that.
cast it. I don't think I fished a whole lot, but I threw the line out there, didn't catch anything. Had some kids catch some big fishes. The first camper, we gave him a Echo Park gift package on Thursday when they opened the gates, and he invited me over for a Wagyu steak on Saturday night. I don't think he thought I was going to show up.
No
The
way.
truck race got pushed back. I told him 4:30. He was over hanging by the bus lot when I got done with the truck race. I was like, "Hey, I'm going to shower up and I'm coming over." So got to hang out with the campers, and man, he had a great steak for me. Had some good lima beans and some collard greens and some taters. So it was a great Saturday night dinner, that's for sure.
Okay, race fans, listen up. How many sports, you complain, oh, this driver didn't stay and sign my autograph. How many sports have a Daytona 500 winner showing up at the campground, showing up kind of last minute, melanated camp out, which we thank, I know Shantae and the crew there, thank you for, and then shows up 2 days, 3 days later to eat steak with the Marshawn Lynch didn't do that when he was on the Seahawks, showing up at the 13th player, so to speak, the 13th fans
Yeah.
tailgate or something. That's incredible, man. That's so cool. Dan, I know you were eager to get questions in, and Devin too. So, boys, take it away.
Yep. I'm going to ask, and I'll turn it over to Devin. But Ricky, you've always impressed me by how comfortable you look or you are at these super speedways. It just amazes me that you're not even in the mix. Seems like nobody's talking about you, and then all of a sudden, toward the end of the race, there you are, and you're as competitive, more so than anybody else seemingly that's there. Are you that comfortable on these super speedways, or what do you think your favor is on these tracks?
Yeah, you make a good point. The Daytona 500, we started 16th and took the option to, once the race started, just kind of, fall to the back. And we know that if you win stage one and stage two and not the third stage, it doesn't really matter. There's only one stage that matters at the Daytona 500. So that was kind of our game plan for that. Atlanta, we had a different game plan. We wanted to kind of be up front. We started third, so we wanted to get some stage points in the first stage. And that didn't happen. So, we probably should have audibled and pulled our, super speedway strategy. And the only reason we changed our strategy up a little bit on the super speedways is the last two speedway races last year, I think we completed 38 laps total, and we were crashed running inside the top 8 both times. So it's not like you're mid-pack. Man, you're battling for the lead, you're battling up front, and got caught in a wreck. So, for me, it's kind of a bummer because you ride around a little bit. Like at the Daytona 500, I spent most of the day riding around. You don't really know what your car's capable of when you get to the front because you've been riding around in the back all day. But I think the one thing that gives me an advantage is my guys are really good at giving me a car that handles. No matter the circumstances, the wind at the Daytona 500 was really, really high, and a lot of cars were getting tight off of turn 4. My car was pretty good. I was able to push cars, and especially when we got in that outside lane in the last 4 laps, I was able to stay on the 43 bumper all the way around the racetrack. So I think that helps and makes me comfortable once I get up there. Talking to other drivers, the 9 was behind me at the 500, and I asked him when we got to Atlanta, I was like, man, could you not stay on my bumper? And he said he was having trouble handling and speed-wise, to be able to stay with me and push our line. So my guys, I give, kudos to my guys for being able to give me a race car like that. And then, I've just, over the years, I've gotten more comfortable and, more experience. When I was in the Nationwide Series back in the day, or the O'Reilly Series, whatever you want to call it, I didn't like super speedway racing at all. Our cars were really fast on 1.5-mile racetracks. They were fast on short tracks, and that's where we did all our winning. And when I went to super speedway races, I just kind of crossed my fingers hoping for a good finish. But as the years went on, throughout Cup, I felt like I learned a lot more about the drafting, about Daytona, Talladega, and now I just have a ton more fun doing it.
Yeah, I bet you do. Devin, you got anything, man?
Yeah, Ricky, I have a question for you, and I've asked drivers this in the past, and one thing that's changed with NASCAR since the pandemic is the lack of practice at the super speedways. The Daytona 500 Speed Week's the only week that we get practice at a super speedway. Why? Because I've had drivers tell me that no, they don't want practice at these super speedways. Like, why is it? Like take for instance Atlanta. That is such a unique racetrack. It's different than Daytona and Talladega, where handling and balance comes as a factor for that race. Like, would you want to see practice, or if not, like I want to know like why some of the drivers don't want to see practice at these tracks.
Yeah, I think back when I first started in Cup, we, even the O'Reilly Series. I mean, you used to go down and test Daytona, and the guys would build 2 cars, and you got different things on each, and then you would come back to the shop, you'd cut your bodies off and go back down to Speed Weeks with a totally different race car, trying to find more speed. And it was all about kind of raw speed. Everything kind of handled good, but also, the track back then was handling, was a factor as well. So you're trying to build a car that was fast and had good handling. Now, since the repave, you were only worried about speed. The cars always handled good. Talladega, no handling issues. But to your point, Atlanta, over the last couple of years, handling has come into play a lot. And so, I guess because you have the same teams that are, running these races, like they assume we're learning each race and we adapt our setups accordingly. We run a different setup at the first Atlanta race than we do the second one, because we know it's going to be hotter. We know the track's going to be slicker. We know that the lap times are going to be a little bit slower. And, we're not designing our race cars anymore like we used to. So, yeah, I still don't think we need practice at the super speedways and even Atlanta, because I don't think there's a whole lot that you're going to, change on your race car, for those places. Now, I would love more practice going to, Circuit of the Americas this weekend, or Phoenix or Vegas, or, you name it. So I've been trying to propose to do like a preseason Thunder in like Homestead or something, so that we can actually go down there, everybody test, change things on your car where it would be beneficial for, a lot of racetracks. But the super speedways, I think we're done. We're about done practicing.
I bet it's a harrowing feeling, though, nonetheless, without practice, firing that sucker off into turn one, not having turned a lap after qualifying was rained out, and with all the winds and all the other factors there, and you just don't know. And we saw, especially the truck series, although they did get to qualify, some people that were dialed in just for qualifying fell back. It was like Adam Andretti, of course, he didn't have a lot of laps, and I know you were in that race too. But is it? I know you did that all during COVID, your first year at the 47 car. Is it a little bit more of a white knuckle feeling when you haven't had one lap in the race car?
It definitely is. I mean, especially like at Atlanta the other day with the wind. The wind was probably the biggest kind of unknown of how the cars were going to handle. We know the track. We know that it's aged a little bit more. The harsh winters kind of keep aging it a little bit. It's not going to drastically change overnight. But that wind was the biggest factor. But the truck race, I mean, again, like my first truck race was Daytona. So the second one was Atlanta. Again, no practice at Atlanta. I just assumed the guys at Nice have a great truck, which they did. So our JF Electric Chevrolet was where I needed it to be. At least to start, we made a few adjustments and made it better throughout the race. But the truck race was a lot of fun. But you could see the cars and trucks that were set up for qualifying. And, I think that's why in the Cup race, I feel like we stayed more side by side. I think everybody kind of knew qualifying was potentially going to get rained out. So they had more of a downforce setup in their car. And I think that's why we stayed a little bit closer than normal.
Interesting. It wasn't lost on me during the truck race that you and Hocevar are next to each other quite a bit. There were some times y'all right on door to door there. Did anything from, and I'm not trying to be gotcha here, okay? But did anything from last year, I guess, cross your mind at all when you were racing door handle to door handle with Hocevar, who ended up,
No.
I think, being as big a story out of Atlanta than as Reddick? So.
Yeah, no, he actually gave me a thumbs up because, we were trying to work our way to the front at one point. And even in the Cup race, we found ourselves in the back, kind of side by side. I think he was a lap down at that point. But no, again, I haven't had any issues with Hocevar since I had my stern talking with him, in Mexico, and then even, after Nashville. So no issues since then, throughout last year and even, beginning of this year.
Yeah, he's got a longer line of other drivers now, I guess, to to talk to about
Yeah.
that. Hey, looking ahead to Circuit of the Americas, I know you aren't thought of as a road course ace for sure, but do you get excited going to that place just because of the magnitude of that track? And do you like the new course that chopped the horn off the top, basically, versus the course they ran the first few years?
I actually missed the back section. Because a few of those corners kind of turned into a dirt track there a little bit. We were all running off the track and dirt was all over the
Climbing the hill to
place.
10, yeah.
Yeah, so that was kind of fun, I felt like, but it's sketchy going through the shortcut there. I mean, it is narrow, wall comes at you quick, you got the tire pack you got to turn around. So that's kind of white knuckle through there, but I enjoy COTA. I'm looking forward to this weekend, more horsepower, really hot temperatures. So I'm interested to kind of see what the tire fall off is like. When I look at what we do as a team the best, it's maintaining our speed late into the run when we go to racetracks where tire fall off is high. So we might not have the speed on the early end, but we make up for it on the back end. So I'm hoping with the higher horsepower, the temperature's up. I'm hoping that last year we were already complaining about rear grip for the whole race, and not just me but everybody. So I think we finished 18th or so last year. I can't remember. They all run together, but I enjoy the road courses.
That's good. That's good that I think mindset is where the speed has to start from, right? If you
It
hate something.
helps.
Dan, yeah, for sure. Dan, Devin?
Yeah, I've got is what you're talking about is more tire management. Is that where it really comes to play?
I think a little bit of tire management from my seat, but also I think what you do with your setup. I think my guys, we might go with a little bit less camber, different air, which then allows you to run some different air pressures to kind of keep the tires on the car longer. It might not go set a blistering lap in qualifying, but we know that, and that's a risk that we're willing to take. I think if we put our, just a amazing setup in for qualifying that doesn't race good, it might get us, up the leaderboard a little bit, but I don't think it's going to put us on the front row where you have that, kind of clean air advantage. So we ought to kind of go with a setup that we feel like is going to race better.
Yeah, raceability for sure. It ends up being a long race, even though it's not a ton of laps, with that long course there. Devin, you
Oh
got
yeah.
Yeah, I've got a fun question for you, Ricky. Do you remember a few years ago at Echo Park Speedway when we were hitting golf balls off the top of Club One?
Yeah, with Mark Calcavecchia.
Yeah,
Or no. Yeah.
I
Didn't
think
he
Let's
that's
show
who
see.
up
it
for that one?
was.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. He just texted me this morning, actually.
Did you learn anything from that at all? Like from him since he's been in the PGA Tour for so long?
Yeah, just my grip strength. I think when I got my wedges in my hand, I would grip the club too tight, and he got me to kind of relax my hands a little bit. Um, and that's the same thing I do on the super speedways as well. Just kind of get your hands relaxed. Don't over grip the steering wheel, and just feel relaxed. So they kind of go hand in hand.
What a great question, man. Hey, and then there's some, and I've read some about it, seen some YouTube stuff about. Is it a ranch? Would you call where you live in North Carolina a ranch? I guess. Like, are you raising cattle and things like that, or is it just like a farm? What's your situation? Because it's a little different than some, right?
I'd call it a glorified ranch. It's not an actual working ranch where we're, sending beef cattle in and out and selling it and going to the cattle cell or anything. But my wife keeps, bringing more cows home. So we got 14 Longhorns. We're about to be up to 4 Highland cows. We got 5 donkeys and 2 dogs. But if she sees a good deal on a cow or a 4-legged animal, we seem to get it. So it's growing, that's for
That's
sure.
awesome. She's on like Facebook Marketplace. Oh, they got another Highland
She
cow,
got
man.
scammed
Okay,
on
yeah, I'll
Facebook
throw that in.
Marketplace once for some cows. So yes,
What? So people were selling cows. So if you're not, she got scammed. What
they were
happened?
selling pictures of cows.
Oh,
So you'll have that. You
oh,
gotta
so
do your
they got
research.
they got my pictures. Okay, that's good. No,
Yeah.
now, so what? If there's not an industry there, so to speak, are these just pets then, or I mean,
Yeah, they're
are there
we call them
practical uses?
kind of yard art. They look good out in the fields, and we got a lot of acreage. So we need you either mow the acreage or you let animals eat it. One of the two.
Are there still a group of other drivers that are coming over to use your gym? Is that a personal thing? Is that actually something people pay to use? What is the workout situation? I know you're incredibly fit, and I believe your wife is too. But I know at one point I think Todd Gillen and Riley and maybe some others were using the gym. Is that a separate business, or is that just your gym?
No, it's a separate business, but Todd and Riley kind of quit working out. I think I don't really know what they do anymore. So, but no, we still got our trainer, and yeah, he works us out hard. So I see him at every morning at 6 a.m.
Oof.
Rain or shine.
Yeah, are there other drivers that come as a part of that, or is it crew members or people in the industry?
Yeah,
Or
he works out other drivers as well, and then he's got another gig that he goes and does and works out even more drivers. So he's been in the industry, working out drivers for a long time. He worked with Casey Kane for 8 or 9 years before he started working with me, and now we've been working out together since 2018. So he's got a lot of experience in our sport.
It being a Chevy driver, well, being a driver that drives a Chevy. To be clear, I know y'all aren't a key
There's
partner, so
different
to speak, of the
levels.
Chevrolet
Yes.
side. Or I don't. Yes, yeah, yeah. To be clear, are you since you're doing all that stuff on your own and at home? Where does the Josh Wise program come in since you're a Chevrolet driver, or does it?
It doesn't come in for me. No. He does a lot of stuff with I don't really know how it all works out, but with the Chevy manufacturer teams. So yeah, and then he does a lot of development for the Chevy development kids coming up, through the Chevy programs. He does a little bit deeper dive versus just the workout portion. He does a lot of data analytics and film review and things like that as well. And he does that over at the GM Tech Center.
Yeah, and it's fascinating to think about when you hear all of them refer to him. To think Josh was out there not all that long ago,
I was
swirling
racing
around with you
Josh
guys
Wise in
there
USAC
back in.
sprint cars. So
Oh yeah, that's
yeah,
right. I forgot that
he's
was his
built a great
background there.
he's built a great business. He's always been fit, and he's always been a really smart race car driver. I don't feel like he ever just got the opportunities on the asphalt stock car side of things, but man, he was amazing behind the wheel of a sprint car. That's for sure.
Definitely. Well, we know you've had your turn at it as well. Last question, and I know you got to get going, is we know your dirt background, and we know that you're really adept at super speedways. What do you think would be the perfect Cup Series racetrack, either that exists now or that they could race on?
I would I would say now that Atlanta is kind of the way Atlanta is, if you could, and we're going to Chicagoland, coming up, but if you could put somewhere in between Atlanta's asphalt age with like Chicagoland, or somewhere between Atlanta's asphalt now and the old Atlanta with the banking Atlanta has now, I think that would be a really, really fun racetrack.
So like 2007 Atlanta or something like that, or not, or
Yeah,
2001 Atlanta, where it had all those close
yeah,
finishes and was the
yeah. It's
fastest track in NASCAR.
still a worn out racetrack, but super high banked, where it's like somewhat like the 2010ish Daytona racetrack. That was one of the coolest races I ran. Was when we that season of the Nationwide Series, we had the old style cars, but we ran the new style cars for 4 races that season, and we ran it at Daytona. That was the year Earnhardt won with the Wrangler car, but you couldn't hold it wide open. I mean, you had to have a car that handled. I mean, it was wild. You had like packs of cars that were drafting with each other because, like, oh, these cars handle good, these don't handle that good, and then like in the very back, there are cars that handle it all. So that's what's really fun if you can get a super speedway race like that.
That sounds great. Well, your insight that definitely seems like that should be high on the list there. Ricky, thanks for making the time and making all the time you did for the Atlanta fans too. That's way more important. So we really
Yeah,
appreciate
not
you
a
and
problem.
Leanne.
Yeah, appreciate y'all having
All
me
right,
on. You have a good one.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr., the
Thank you,
man.
Ricky.
We all thank you very much, and good luck at
Yep.
COTA. I'll see you there, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, man. Well, that was awesome, fellas. Thank you for clearing out the time and the space for that. And again, thanks to Leanne Egoff, who did such a good job getting Corey LaJoy, I think, to the space where he's at doing his own podcast and different media things. And what'd you think about his answer there at the end? Dan was giving the thumbs up, but he said he liked like 2001, 2005 Atlanta, 2010 Daytona.
Anything Atlanta suits me to a T. And I've got to get a hold of him because I've got some goats that he needs to own.
Hey, they get a hold of Madison. Okay, that's who. That's who.
Hey, not pictures of goats though.
Not pictures of goats. I have some goats he needs to own.
That's fantastic. Oh my gosh, I love that. Hey, Devin, you 2 weekends in a row at the track. So what we're going to do? We're not going to do the traditional just full breakdown of the race. We're going to fire off a couple of things and get ready for COTA and then get out of here, man. We've already been on a half hour. I love what Ricky had to say. Dev, you were there on the ground, including on Friday. I was a slacker and skipped Friday, all right, because there wasn't a whole lot going on except for some qualifying, and I had to work all day that day. So, Dev, your impressions from Tyler Reddick going back-to-back to the energy at the place to the amount of fans to the races we saw Saturday, all of it.
Yeah, I think with Tyler Reddick going back-to-back, I think that's a really tough thing to do given the fact that these are such wild card races. Your Echo Park Speedways, your Talladega, your Daytonas. It's such a wild card race, and just to see him not only get damage early in the race and then come back from that and win, go back-to-back to start the year, it's so tough to do. So a lot of props to him for winning on Sunday. Echo Park Speedway, another great race, another great racing weekend we saw. So you still make the argument, Echo Park Speedway, best track on the circuit right now. So just another great weekend of racing. And, it was just a lot of fun. Got to do my first camping experience on Saturday. And it's actually quite funny that we bring up the Melanated Campground because I was there Saturday night.
So I thought your camping experience was in that nice RV outside the track with.
That's where I slept. But after I was done with the O'Reilly Auto Parts stuff, that's where I was headed to.
So how did you end up at the Melanated Campout? I mean, how did you? You just showing up at people's campouts saying, "Hey, I'm Devin Kupka, 5 to Go podcast."
No,
what's going on?
My friend had some friends that were over near that area.
Yeah.
So we were hanging out with some of the people he knew, and then the Melanated Campground was like maybe a few campers away. And, some people around us were drinking a lot and were going over there, and we went over there too and got to experience it for just a little bit. So I'm going to say this, it was a really unique experience seeing all that stuff on Saturday.
What was
like
so unique about
world
it?
In the infield.
What was so unique?
Well, just people partying and all of that. Like, you just don't see that type of stuff at sporting events per se.
Well, you don't?
And what I mean by that is, like, just everybody's sleeping there, camping, and there's music blaring, people are dancing, and it's just so unique. Like,
are you comparing it to tailgating at football or comparing it to...
it's different from tailgating.
Yeah, because they're like living there. Yeah.
In a way, that too, but it's just so different. Well, also, too, it's late at night after the event's over. Event organizers typically don't like that. NASCAR tracks are different, but it's just so, like, I can't even put it into words. It was so unique.
Okay.
And I only did it for one night.
So the Melanated Campout, by the way, is a group of African-American campers who basically go and have different outdoors experiences at places, and this is the second time that I've known about them at Echo Park Speedway. They had me there to do a Q&A with them a year ago, so they have their campers and tents and everything all near each other. Then there's a big white banquet tent, a big tall banquet tent that's like their central point, and that's where we did the Q&A. I came at 10 in the morning or so on Saturday, and some of them have been up till 4 a.m. going hard. So, Alfred Romero, who helps host the Southern Race Week radio show and podcast, I was on a guest of his last week. He was at the track sleeping in an RV right near the Melanated Campout. Did you go see Alfie?
No, I did not.
Man, I think he was going hard out there too, and then coming to work the next day. So I'm glad you had a good experience.
At the Melanated Campground on Saturday.
He said he was nearby. I don't know. He said he was nearby, but he didn't say he saw you either. So y'all must have been stealing other people's beers. So
and the best part was hitting the Waffle House over there by the track at 2 a.m. and seeing police officers pulling over people.
I bet. Yeah, pulling over people driving perpendicular to the correct direction of the road, I'm sure. Good Lord. Yeah, I've never been to the Waffle House near the racetrack. I've not been to a lot of the businesses near there. You kind of get out of there once it's time to go. So, where you were staying though was in a big backstretch RV that was kind of a complimentary thing, tying with the racetrack there, with Ryan, whose father Brandon is the GM of the racetrack. So, did y'all have a big time once you got back to the bus?
Yeah, that was more of the unwinding point of the night, really, and it was interesting. I slept on the. It was a nice camper. And I slept on the recliner. One of my other friends slept on the pull out couch thing. And the weather had started getting really cold at that point. And windy.
Oh yes, it was.
And we're on the backstretch, so we're not in the infield where we're down and low. We're elevated a little bit and perched up. And it felt like on Saturday night, Sunday morning, man, I felt like we were about to take off and probably land over there at Dan's garage, probably. That's what it felt like. It felt like we were about to take off, in a helicopter.
Gosh, it was crazy, man. It was crazy out there with the weather stuff. I'll share my experience in a moment. Do want to point out our winners this weekend. All right. Kyle Busch wins the truck race at Echo Park for the third year in a row, breaking a 1-year winless streak in all three of NASCAR series. And I'm not saying that to pick on him. That's just hard to believe to me for a guy that's won over 250 races, that it's been a year. But he wins another thriller Saturday. People were upset it got shortened a few laps. They had to beat the TV windows. It was different networks broadcasting the races. The race was delayed an hour because they were having to dry out the track, on and on and on. Guys, did you want to come back 9 o'clock Sunday morning or 7:30 Sunday night to run that race? No. Okay? They had to make it work. I wish they could have run the full thing out. As it turned out, especially as long as that O'Reilly race ran, because it really drug on at the end, I was okay with that. The O'Reilly race, another thriller. Austin Hill, who does lead the O'Reilly standings, through that block of Ross Chastain like anybody would have done, and Ross Chastain, like almost anybody would have done, didn't lift. and Hill has an incredible save, but, of course, Chastain has to check up. Sheldon Creed gets the momentum and gets his first career win in over 120 races after 15 runner-up finishes there. What was that mood like both on pit road and in the media center, Devin? I'm not trying to skip over you, Dan, but Dev was there. I had to clear out of there quickly to get back to the house and reset for the next day. But Dev, what was that like being downstairs when you see a guy get his first win?
Yeah, that was pretty crazy, and it's just so fun kind of watching the end of these exciting drafting style tracks on pit road. It's just so fun because people are just weaving in and out, and it's just like, oh, all that, seeing all the crazy moves that happens. But it was cool to see Sheldon Creed get his first win. It seems crazy to think about when you look at it, that Creed has been in the O'Reilly Auto Parts series for a couple of years and is on his second team in his second year with his second team too.
Right, he's on his third team. He's on his third team in 5 years. So he came to the O'Reilly Series in 2022. This is his fifth season. He started his first 2 years at RCR. He ran the 2024 season at Joe Gibbs and the number 81 or the number 18, the Friends of Jacqueline Foundation. And then this is his second year driving the 00. So he's already on his third, A-tier team. And that makes him ask a lot of questions to himself, as I'm sure he referred to, right?
Yeah, no, it's cool to see. And that's the thing. It's like he's been in the I don't want to say league, but the series for so long that he just hasn't gotten a win. And I remember when he was racing in the truck series and RCR and all that. And it was good to see him get a win on Saturday to finally break through the ice in the O'Reilly Auto Parts series.
In an incredible fashion. The call was great on Performance Racing Network, of course, and then I went back and listened to Adam Alexander, Parker Kligerman, and Jamie McMurray do it, and they were beside themselves, not because Creed won, but because of how everything unfolded, and then Creed won. And, of course, we saw Sam Mayer, his teammate, wipe his nose out by mistake driving through the grass when he goes up to congratulate him there, just a mistake on his part. Each one of these races had at least one driver who was 2 laps down or nearly 2 laps down and came back to be a factor in the final conversation. Each one. Ben Rhodes ran out of fuel. And at Atlanta, mile-and-a-half track with that super long pit road. Under green flag, you have to pit at the beginning of turn 3 and run pit road speed. It's 2 different pit road speeds, but run pit road speed for all that time. You lose a ton of time, and he ran out of fuel. Under green, Ben Rhodes, he comes all the way back around to be in the conversation. Sam Mayer, damaged early, flat tire, 2 laps down, pits under green. I think he had a pass-through penalty, speeding. I mean, done. Put a fork in him. All those cautions, free passes, comes back around and is in the winning in the up front conversation. Sam Mayer, and then in Sunday's race, Carson Hocevar scrapes the wall, cuts down, done. Right, 2 laps down. All these guys racing a big pack. No way he's going to catch him, but there were just enough cautions. And Hocevar, of course, is a big part of the front-running conversation at the end of the Cup race, which was won, by the way, by Tyler Reddick. We haven't said that enough in this show. 2 for 2 to start the season there. Does it without a right front fender. He leads 53 laps, and it wasn't like this was just some miracle win. He leads the most laps on the day. Kyle Larson had 48 laps led, Bubba Wallace 46. Dan, I know it's drafting tracks, but these are 2 very different tracks in a way. 23-11, are they on kill or what?
They're definitely on kill, and it makes you wonder with the fact that they lost a fender and ran so well, if that played into the arrow. I'd love to know whether the fender really, and this is something that you learn by accident. It's not something that I think anybody manipulated or anything in the wreck caused it to. That was the purpose, was to lose a fender, and I don't think anything of that. No conspiracy theory. It's just the fact of how much of a role does a fender play now in the arrow, as long as the nose is intact on the car.
Yeah. Well, and Denny Hamlin speculated on actions detrimental, that he thought losing just the top part, not the right front, but the top of that part of the hood, he thought it would be neutral, not necessarily helping you, but not hurting you. I think it did hurt if he had to go and be out there and run half of that race that way, and he couldn't lead a line. I don't think he would have led 53 laps personally. I think
the only way you're going to know this is go to the wind tunnel as it is,
which they can't really do anymore.
The car as it was, and see what the numbers show you. But it's irrelevant anyway. It's just, I was amazed that the car ran that well as everyone else without a fender. And I'm telling you, they are seemingly on a tear. And I just wonder if COTA, you're getting into the change of tracks now, and let's see if the game changes any, or if they are as well prepared for it. Because I told you, Daytona really does set the momentum for several races. And I feel like that on the tire that they're on, that momentum will carry through to COTA. Whether they do good or whether they don't, that momentum will carry through.
Didn't Reddick win at COTA a few years ago? 2023
in his first race for 23-11, and he is the driver since they began raining at COTA that has the most points there. Tyler Reddick. Average finish of 4 point something or rather. Okay, I think 4.6.
But it's so competitive. You just don't know what you're going to get. It is so competitive. And that's really what I wanted to ask Ricky Stenhouse is given, does any manufacturer have an advantage? Does driving a Chevrolet, Toyota, Ford, does he feel like anyone has any kind of advantage whatsoever? And the way it looks now, you could throw a blanket over a number of the cars, and not only a number of the drivers, and you're just gonna, whatever comes out at the end of that is gonna evolve the winner, because you just can't pick it. I mean, I thought about Daytona, I thought about Atlanta and the winners we picked, and it's impossible to pick right now.
Yeah.
And no one has emerged. Someone has emerged, but no one has really emerged because you've only ran 2 races.
Right. And Tyler Reddick seemed more, although he made great moves at the end of it, seemed more fluky at Daytona. But they were still really fast, and Bubba Wallace led laps at Daytona, really the whole deal, right? So, it's hard to know. Here's a 2-race sample. I'm not doing driver performance based on points, but if you're talking about just 2 races, you throw all the points and stage points together. You talked about manufacturers. Ready? Top 6 in points are 2 Fords, followed by 2 Chevys, Sorry. So that again. 2 Toyotas, 2 Chevys, then it's 2 Fords, and then it goes Chevy, Ford, 8th through 10th are Fords. So it's Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace, Chase Elliott, Carson Hocevar, Zane Smith, Joey Logano, Daniel Suarez, Ryan Blaney, Brad Keselowski, Chris Buescher, your top 10 in points. So everybody's represented there and led the way, not by Joe Gibbs Toyotas, but again, by the guys that sued NASCAR and were successful in doing that. I mean, and they had a front row cars in the top 5, Zane Smith. That's crazy.
Hey, they've been winning since December.
Bro, they've been big time winning. Big time.
When do you
and Riley Herbst, by the way, was in the conversation at the end of the 500 as well, and he didn't look terrible in Sunday's race. I know he crashed early, but I mean, just they've all looked good. Go ahead, Devin. I'm sorry.
So how NASCAR has the schedule now? You have Echo Park and Daytona opens up the year, and I don't mean to say this like rudely, but when does the real season do you think COTA marks the beginning of the real season now?
No, you got to get on an oval first. Like an oval where you use the brakes. And Phoenix is short track-ish, and then of course there's Vegas, the real intermediate type of track that's similar to Chicagoland and Texas and so forth. So I think you get through Vegas, and if you're in a big hole after Vegas, maybe not even in the points, just speed-wise, where you've just shown up and you've not been competitive in 60% of the races, that's where I think you're like, oh, crap. And then, of course, by the time you get through the Bristol, Martinsvilles of the world, then you really start to have an idea. Would you disagree with that, Dan?
No, I wouldn't disagree at all, but I do feel that, like I said, the momentum is set from Daytona, and but you got to figure there's going to be several drivers that are going to go home and say, well, this track now, since I've had bad luck at 2 races or 1 race or whatever, this track owes me. And they're going to look at it that way. And it's true. This track owes me. So they feel like they're entitled. And I'm telling you, you can feel entitled all you want to, but it's not going to make any difference whatsoever at the end of the day.
Not going to make you faster for sure.
No.
Okay. We could go on and on about who's great. I want to get from you guys, and again, it's 2 drafting tracks where you could crash. A lot of people wreck. But that puts you in a hole because every race equals the same. All 26 races equal the same. With the exception, you could say the Coke 600 has an extra stage. The Daytona 500 has points in the duel, so maybe they're a little more valuable. But each race equals the same in the grand scheme of things. Is there a driver or an organization that you are concerned about 2 races in? Devin, you texted one when they had trouble in Atlanta, and I thought, man, that's a hot take. You texted one to you and Dan, or to you and Dan, to Dan and me, that you were worried about.
Yeah, that one being Kyle Busch, who it's a different era now with the point standings. And I have to do an in-depth dive here on the standings, but he is currently sitting 24th, which isn't too bad right now, given the fact that you want to be top 16 to make it into the playoffs this year. But Ty Gibbs off to another slow start. He's down there in the 30s. Alex Bowman moved up 4 to 32nd this year. Zilich has had a rough start. Bell. It's a little early, but things are different, though. And this is where it's different. A win doesn't get you into the postseason anymore. You got to point your way in.
Yeah.
So there's more of an upward crawl. But the thing to watch out for, and this goes into the point of having the discussion of when does the real season begin, is these next couple of weeks, because this could really determine a good chunk of your season. If you take Ty Gibbs last year, for instance, and he didn't win a race, and I don't think he even made the playoffs. But
no, he's never made the playoffs.
This fashion now,
that's not true.
Doing it in this fashion is much difficult to climb up the standings than it was in the past, especially now that there are more points rewarded for winning races now. So I think there's a little bit more pressure on that to perform over these next 3 weeks, because I think this will give us a good test of where everybody's at.
Well, and if you get in another hole, you could. So with so many cars on the lead lap at COTA, and you have maybe a late race restart, you get shucked out, you get turned around at turn one, you're running fifth, you come out 30th, and there's only 6 laps to go, and you haven't done anything wrong the whole day, and there's not a high attrition rate, and you go 5th to 30th, and you've already crashed out at the first 2 races. Alex Bowman, was 4 laps down in Atlanta. Austin Cindric has had heavy damage both races. Ooh, man, that's when it hits. It's not about even the type of tracks. And performance-wise, I have no idea, besides the Toyotas being really quick, who's like good. Those 2 Toyotas, that is, of 2311, 2 out of their 3. I have no idea who's good. But I do worry about if you're a team, and I said this to one on a sports talk show I called it to earlier today. If you're a team that knows, like Ricky Stenhouse, you are not going to maximize points in every race. You have maybe there are 8 races out of the first 26 where hey, it's not winning you're in, but here's how I can win the points day. Zane Smith did a great job with that. He's 5th in the standings. He knows drafting tracks, maybe a Bristol with tire management, and maybe a road course. These are the unicorn tracks that Front Row can circle and say, hey. And he did it. But if you're somebody else that was supposed to, like Stenhouse, who ended up, a high and a low there, that was a missed opportunity at Atlanta, because you go to Vegas, you're probably running 25th without some hocus pocus, right? That's how I look at it. Dan, does anybody, before we move on and we need to preview COTA and get out of here, already 51 minutes, Dan, anybody you look at where you're concerned about, and I don't mean just the point standings, but just you've seen him wreck the first 2 races, you've seen him not run well, mistakes on pit road, you always have your eyes open for those.
I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus over the first 2 races, because these races are unique in how they're run and how they turn out. So you can get caught up, and you can be running really, really good, as we saw, and get caught up. And like you said, be at the back of the pack, be in the garage, whatever. I'm going to look at this as to going into COTA. Maybe you revisit, as Ricky said, about strategy, and how your strategy after these 2 races differs now for the next race or a couple of races. And I think you're just going to have to be able to adapt quickly on the fly and adapt to the situation that is dealt to you. Maybe you didn't deal with the situation, but the situation was dealt to you, and you're going to have to adapt to that situation very quickly.
Yeah, adaptability, because you have to take different stabs at it instead of slow and steady wins the race.
It's not going to be different stabs. It's going to be a calculated. It's going to be a calculated move on the crew chief or someone's part to make sure that you maximize as many points. As Devin said, it's not when you're in. You're going to have to maximize the most points that you can possibly maximize out of every race. And this even includes, if you fall out, getting back in the race.
Yeah, we saw Riley Herbst, I think it was gained about 4 positions coming out over 100 laps down.
Yeah.
I was shocked that he came back out.
Now,
and maybe they were going to learn something, but those 4 points, you never know. You never know.
It's twofold. You do need to learn from it. I agree, but the whole key to this is to get as many points as you can possibly accumulate. Any event, anywhere, anytime, any place.
I remember not all that long ago, in the early 2010s, when people were so sick of talking about points racing.
Yeah.
And then it was winning you're in. Heck yeah, now people love talking about points racing. Boy, respond right here. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so looking ahead, Circuit of the Americas, Atlanta, Echo Park Speedway, a resounding success. Hey, it's not perfect. I know the people that don't like drafting tracks don't like it. There's a guy, Hoop. He's in the Spriggs Family Fantasy League that I'm in, and he just complained like crazy all weekend long about it not being the old Atlanta. And you know what? He was the only person I saw complaining. And by the way, that doesn't he's welcome to that opinion. I'm nostalgic about the old Atlanta and the tire wear. Ross Chastain said this. All right. He said this to the campers and the people that were in the Raceway Ministries tent. Devin was there Sunday morning. Ross Chastain said in another interview how he had been critical of the changes before he raced on it at Echo Park Speedway, throwing the extra banking in the corners. And then he said to the campers, man, y'all remember when people were complaining about Old Atlanta? They were crazy, weren't they? I'm paraphrasing. He didn't say they were crazy, but he said, this racing is excellent. And it just is. Because the handling matters. You got to take every run. It's mentally exhausting. It makes us hoarse at the end of the day calling all those races because there is no lack of action. Even if you have the same leader for a while, there's somebody pulling the string somewhere. So leaving at Echo Park Speedway, big props, Brandon, the whole team down there for doing an incredible job. Big time crowd. I would have liked to have seen more in the grandstands, but it was colder than a mother on Sunday. So anybody that was making a game time decision, I would have stayed home probably too. And I love NASCAR, and I would have stayed home to not sit in that. I had people text me, friends of mine, Big Charlie Pritchard, shout out to him, text me. He goes, I don't know how you're standing out there on that scissor lift. We left with 30 laps to go.
That's one thing I noticed too. When I made my way down from the press box, there's maybe 40 laps to go in the race, and you know where the pedestrian tunnel is in turn 4. Yeah. I mean, there were swaths of people leaving the grandstands and leaving the track at that point, and the sun was still out at that
late
at that
red
time
flag.
too.
That late red flag really did it. Stephen Boise, the photographer that drives our 11 Alive traffic impact tracker, he was there working, doing photog work for 11 Alive during the race, and he had to be out in it, right? And when I was talking to him the next day, he goes, "Man, there are too many crashes in that race. It took way too long. Too many crashes, took way too long." Doesn't mean it's still not great racing, but he was wore out. He was just the how long stage 3 took to kind of overshadowed to him. That's just one person to him, the whole product. It would have been nice to see him clean it up. By the way, who would have taken truck race was the cleanest race all weekend if you were betting? Who would have taken that one? I wouldn't have.
That's crazy. And if that was wild how clean that was. And if they didn't have that last caution come out in the final stage, the only natural caution of the race, they actually would have finished that race without needing to cut it short.
Without having to hit the 420 marker. Yeah, we were rooting for him, too, because we just want to see it happen. A big shout-out to Ross Chastain for joining us in the booth of Performance Racing Network. It's so good up there. Shout-out to Jack Johnson, had his first race out in the turns, and Nick Yeoman beginning the new post-Mark Garrow era in the booth. All of those guys had great calls there, and I got to spend time with Ross the next morning at the Raceway Ministries tent. Hey, real quickly, just because I like to say their names, want their names to be heard, your top 10 in Atlanta were Tyler Reddick and Chase Briscoe in Toyotas. Ross Chastain and Carson Hocevar were 3rd and 4th. Daniel Suarez was 5th. Good run for him. Former winner there. Shane Van Gisbergen goes through the grass twice and finishes 6th. Dan, did that say anything to you, how SVG has been so competitive these first 2 races?
I was going to say for COTA, I know he don't have a bullseye on his back for there, but he has done remarkably well first 2 races. Even though circumstances haven't really worked his way completely, but I'm impressed so far.
And he's right up there in the points, too. Zane Smith, 5th in points now, finished 7th in that race. And he came back from getting the crap knocked out of his car, too, by the way. Zane Smith did. There were a lot of comeback stories. Bubba Wallace faded to 8th at the end there. There was some talk about him not choosing the right line at the finish of the race there. I think he went up to cover, but covered it too high, basically, and the line moved on him, if I remember that correctly. He was trying to cover Hocevar. It didn't work. Ryan Priest, the Red Baron, who is our Saturday guest at Raceway Ministries, he finished 9th. His strategy was, it ended up being riding the back all day. He was going to go up to the front and go on kill, but he rode in the back all day and then kind of rose to the front, and he came out in driver intros. Did you see that, Dev, dressed as the Red Baron?
Yes, and I talked to one of the crew members before the race, and they're like, yep, it's all part of the sponsorship thing, and it all look like the old football helmets from way back when.
Yeah, the old pilot helmets in that case. But yeah, Ryan Priest was 9th, and Ryan Blaney was 10th. And to show how random things could be, I'm on this sports talk show where I get to call in every Thursday right before we record 5 to go, and they have us do I forget what they call it, but it's where you can only pick one driver once a year, and you can't pick the same as the other 2 guys that week, and then they keep points. And I won I won Atlanta, quote unquote. I didn't win nothing, but I won Atlanta because Ryan Blaney finished 10th, and I can't remember what the other guys picked, but they did not. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I got the dinger for COTA coming up because I had to pick last, and they took Zilich and SVG. Zilich got a big hole to dig out of there, but we expected rookie seasons are tough, and his Cup debut was tough at COTA a year ago. Wrecked his teammate and then got cleaned out himself. So, all right, on to Circuit of the Americas, and what am I leaving out? We're going two places this weekend. St. Petersburg, an IndyCar Truck Series doubleheader. Sorry, guys, we aren't the 15th podcast to have talked about Carson Hocevar going for it, okay? It was exciting to watch. That's all I'll say about it. But the truck's going to St. Petersburg this weekend, and so there's all sorts of racing. You can jski.com, wherever you want to go, NASCAR.com, find out when and where everything is. I'll tell you, the Saturday truck race is at 12 noon Eastern. Saturday O'Reilly race, 3 p.m. Eastern. Sunday Cup race, 3:30 Eastern, and then the IndyCar series, I think, is going to run at St. Petersburg on Sunday before that time. And looking at these entry lists, there is something very interesting to me about the truck race. Probably a lot of things that are interesting, but there's one in particular that I was not expecting. Did y'all hear who's going to run this truck race? Four-time IndyCar champion who is going to have a 7-time NASCAR Cup Series champion helping call the shots on his pit box.
Jimmy Johnson's on the pit box.
Right.
I don't know.
That narrows down the 7-time Cup champions, yeah.
I don't know who's driving, though.
It's the #1 Tricon Garage Toyota, sponsored by Dollar Tree. Johnson helped put that sponsorship together for his buddy, who is his driving coach at Ganassi, Dario Franchitti.
Wow.
Dario Franchitti, whose career ended basically. I mean, he was already wanting to retire, but it ended with a head injury, and then he's been racing some vintage cars and kind of building up to it. He was a great guest, Dale Jr. Download this week. Yes, I tell you about other good podcasts. Dario Franchitti is going to be in the race, and John Andretti's younger brother, Mario's nephew, Adam Andretti, is going to be in the #5 as a teammate to Dario Franchitti. Adam Andretti qualified 6th or so. He qualified really well for the truck race in Atlanta. And I was thinking, oh boy, first ever NASCAR race for Adam Andretti. And he went straight to the back and got lapped under green, because it turns out these cars, just like Cletus McFarland showed us, are really freaking hard to drive. And Cletus knows how to drive, and Adam Andretti knows how to drive. There are a lot of things to watch in these. Also, the free agent driver for the 25 Collie truck. We will mention that every week if we can, because it'll be a different driver each week. Last week it was Ty Dillon. Okay, you see Ty Dillon. Yeah. How about this? Colin Brown. Y'all remember Colin Brown? Devin shaking his head. Dan, you remember Colin Brown?
I remember, but I don't know. Go ahead and reference what you're going to.
He was a up and coming Roush rookie. Won a truck race even. Did some O'Reilly racing. Has a little bit of overlap with Stenhouse over there, and eventually had to go back to sports cars. He kind of ran out of opportunities there, and
probably ran out of money.
Well, just it didn't have a lot of results to go with it. So, but Colin Brown's going to be in the Truck Series race too. They're racing at St. Petersburg. I'm disappointed there are no other IndyCar drivers. You thought like,
where is Lewis Hamilton when you need him?
Yeah, no kidding. Well, he's with Devin's ex, Kim Kardashian.
Don't matter. Where is Lewis Hamilton when you need him?
There you go. Marietta, Georgia's Wesley Slimp will be in the number 62 Halman Friesen Toyota, by the way. I want to look at real quickly the entry list for the O'Reilly Series 2. Alex LeBay, who's a road course racing ace, will be racing at SS Greenlight Racing. That's, be a tough race there. Back of the pack. Tyler Gonzalez, I know nothing about him. I have to do some studying. He's going to run the Hettinger #5 that Luke Finhouse had run in the first 2 races. Shane Van Gisbergen will run a 5th Junior Motorsports Chevrolet. Brent Cruz makes his season debut and series debut in car number 19. And he's going to run most of the year there after he turns 18. He's allowed to run the road courses, though. Can you believe that, as a 17-year-old? And he is cut from the same cloth as Connor Zilich. Devin bought this guy's T-shirt last year. Baltazar Leguizamon, the Argentinian racer, who's going to run part-time for Barrett Cope Racing this year. This is his first race, car number 30. Austin J. Hill, the Austin Hill that doesn't get booed at driver intros. He'll be running for Joey Gase Motorsports. Preston Pardis is running a part-time schedule for his own team, number 50. Sage Karam, former IndyCar driver, the 55. And I think that's it as far as kind of the interlopers there. J.J. Yaley. Hey, he's going to go down and run Young's Motorsports, number 42. Ross Chastain will be in this race. Connor Zilic will be in this race in the number 1. And the 91 car will be driven by Carson Kvapil because Dale Jr. has that. There are essentially going to be 6 junior motorsports cars in this race with the DGM 91 carrying Carson Kvapil. So excited about that. And then on the Cup side, I think there's only one open team running. Let me see. Race information. Yeah, Jesse Love will be in the Richard Childress 33. And the other 36 cars will have the normal, drivers you see running full-time in their charters there. So what are we looking forward to this weekend, boys? Second year of the cut-through. Got a new tire barrier, turn 6.
Is going to be interesting.
Say it again. I talked over you by mistake.
I think St. Petersburg this weekend is going to be quite interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him running with IndyCar too. And then I think there'll be, am I not mistaken, a NASCAR Indy Phoenix doubleheader,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
In 2 weeks.
Love to see those competing or
Or no, it'll be
cooperating.
next week, I think. They go to Phoenix.
Yeah. Gosh. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. This season's going there. Dan, anything you're looking forward to this weekend?
I think I'm looking forward to anything. I'm really looking forward to COTA. I love the road courses. And like I said, I love to see drivers turn right and left and shift and have to think. So that really does make it exciting for me. And we just hope and pray that the show delivers. And that was my weekend.
I definitely think it's going to. Hey, it's tough with the next gen cars, but they do have more horsepower now. And we heard Ricky Stenhouse, our esteemed guest at the beginning of the show, say that the tire wear, tire management are going to matter.
Yep.
And again, it's Shane Van Gisbergen versus the field, but he's got a teammate who's going to be his number 1 threat. How do you manage that as a team? Ross Chastain, their other teammate, by the way, won his first Cup Series race 4 years ago, Circuit of the Americas, and is one of the best average finishes and best points totals since NASCAR came there. So don't forget that. Funny little thing, Racing Reference doesn't have Shane Van Gisbergen's Cup stats as far as the rest of the drivers' stats at COTA, because I'm going, where? I kept looking for his name, and it wasn't there. That's little quirks on Racing Reference. Respond right here. Hey, for Saturday, Performance Racing Network, and I'll be part of a team that will have Kyle Rickey from MRN as a part of it. That's exciting. And Heather DeBow, who you've seen on Truck Series races before, and ARCA races. They'll be part of our main crew there. Cup Series practice and qualifying will be 10 a.m. on Saturday, and there will be, I think it's 25 minutes each for Group 1 and Group 2, and then qualifying. So like real arse practice, okay? 2 weeks out of 3 to start the year, we have kind of like real practice. All right, that's 10 a.m. Saturday. That's 10 a.m. Eastern on Saturday. 2:30 Eastern Saturday is the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series Focus Health 250. And then as far as Sunday's race, it'll be the Duramax Grand Prix, and that'll be 2:30 Eastern. We're seeing a green flag around 3:30 or so. So that's where we're set up for COTA there. And again, Tyler Reddick, William Byron, Alex Bowman, Ross Chastain, among the drivers with the best body of work at that race, too. Of course, Georgia's Chase Elliott won that race, the very first one in 2021. If you can believe it. Go all the way back, 2021. Respond right here. All right, any final thoughts, Devin?
Yeah, or like a final question. Dan, what's up with the chicken on top of the car here? I don't. The viewers can't. If you're not watching it, you don't see it. But what's up with the chicken on top of the car?
I'm glad you asked me that question. That was a throwback Stroker Race chicken pit special. So I thought I'd throw it up there. No, I'm not delivering chicken, but I could.
I love it. Dan, can your final thought top your answer to Devin's final thought?
Absolutely. I want to start a picture of the week. And today I'm going to do a double bonus because of Ricky Stenhouse. And Ricky Stenhouse, this one is for you.
Ah.
Here's Scoot.
Can you see that?
Is that a what? No, explain it just in case. See, we got audio listeners too as well.
This is my two goats, and I can back up the picture with two goats.
Oh my
and
gosh!
and my picture of the week is one that inspired by Atlanta years ago, and I think you'll understand why when you see this photo. And
Oh yeah,
Doug, you can
slide a
explain.
little more to the left since we're in vertical mode here. There we go. Yep. Yeah. Please explain. Of course, I know what it is, but please explain. I love that.
Yep, Captain Herb Emery and his lovely wife Karen, and that is one of my many good memories of Atlanta Motor Speedway, Echo Motorsports Park, and the good times that we always had there with them. And you were there, and it just made the whole weekend. I wish Devin could have been there. It just made the whole weekend special.
I miss those live broadcasts for sure.
I do.
You know, getting up there and get their butt crack early, set up the tent, plug in all the stuff, set up the radio equipment. Inevitably, I do something wrong. Herb's got to fix it. Yeah, that's and also my job, you know, was I would go and record all these press conferences on mini disc and then go and make tracks in the mini disc, like hitting markers, and then label what each driver was talking about on each one. So Herb would have this huge cut list and then play it off his mini disc player in there. And of course, he'd use like 3 of them because we had all these live guests. And I'm like, why am I doing all this work? And it's just to teach you how to do it. It's not, but he gave me work to do. And I'll say that my final thought from Atlanta, the first weekend I came down there, the first weekend or two, I came dressed however I wanted because that's just how I approached life at that time, sometimes even still. And he gave me money before the next race after doing 1 or 2 of those. I would wear Converse, you know, All-Stars all the time, right? Chuck Taylors, and I would wear different color ones. All right, and Herb and, you know, Rick Minter, who was a longtime AJC reporter and still involved in the sport, they would make fun. Hey, Fireball, can you not afford 2 shoes of the same color? You know, and things like that. And you know, I just was doing what I was. 18, 19 years old. I don't know, man. I didn't want to look normal. And Herb gave me money to buy proper clothes. It's not that I didn't have them. I just wasn't wearing them. But he gave me like $50 or something like that to go buy a proper shirt and pants for the race weekend. So I was nowhere near the level of fashion maturity that Devin Kupka is.
Well, before we check out, I wanted to say to both Doug and Devin that you're going to a lot more races than I am, and I would encourage you to make as many photos as you possibly can, because these will come to be some of the most cherished things that you will be doing, even though you don't think it will be, or you think you don't have time to do it. Take the time and do it.
Take the time and savor the moment. And this industry does not allow you to do that very easily. You are programmed on to the next thing. Ricky, you know, how many appearances like these is he doing? On to the next thing, on to the next thing. And a lot of drivers, when they get out of it, they realize, dadgummit.
Yeah.
You know, you were on that grind for many years, Dan. Dadgummit. I wish I could have enjoyed it more because it's all memories.
I wish that photography had been a whole lot easier with the digital photos and the way that it is today, streaming and all the things that you can get photos, and it just means the world to me to go back and look at some of the pictures. And as we move forward, I'm going to do a picture of the week.
I love that. Please do. You have carte blanche for that. Carte blanche. I love it, man. Well, Dan, Devin, thanks for making the time. And I know folks listening, this is, you know, getting a little long in the tooth time-wise on the show, but we're so thankful to Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Leanne Egoff, his manager, who just joined his ranks this year, for making this possible. Ryan Preece expressed interest in coming on the show. I know, Devin, you've been making some contacts out there trying to get people on the show, and we're so grateful for all of you. Devin shared with us some of the metrics of you all clicking on Facebook videos, and I know the algorithm's weird and you get a lot of credit for things, but there are a lot of you that are responding. We would love for you, if you like this show, to share it with people that you think might appreciate it. Kind of more down-home motorsports show, right? A little folksy, right? You know, we're a little laid back. And but 3 people that are absolutely rabid fans, like a lot of you listening. So thank you for choosing the 5 to Go podcast. So going, we're Apple, Spotify, YouTube, GoPRN.com. Thanks to Performance Racing Network for housing that. And please interact with us on social media. Find Devin and me on Facebook, Instagram, and X. And find us in the 5 to Go podcast Facebook group, too. I'll try to put some stuff up, Devin. I will not be at the driver bullpen this weekend because we'll be on the air. So I'll do what I can to keep our streak going of having the podcast at the first 3 races. Dan, I think you had something.
Yes, and thank you, Ricky Stenhouse, for being on the show. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we'll definitely be rooting for him a little bit harder and for the other drivers that make the time to do that there. Devin's trying to bag Chase Elliott. He's trying. You know, I don't know who will have better luck, Devin or Dan, getting Chase to come on. But, yeah, exactly.
I'll stand in front of the jet.
But there you oh, my gosh. On that note, thank you all for listening to the show. We will be
It's
back
been
next
nice
week.
knowing you.
Yeah, we'll be back next week with another 5 to Go podcast. And Devin, get some sleep. My goodness, man. You know,
I'm finally
you're
catching
working.
up.
You're working way too hard. So anyway, thank you all again once again for listening to the 5 to Go podcast. God bless you. We'll catch you next week.